Hey, you've made it to SprySpace, where people managing social media accounts come for community. This year, our focus is social media for good. Together, we can work to make social media a landscape for healthy online communities to grow. Sound good? Then come along with us on the SprySpace podcast, where we share what we know, learn what we don't, and strive to make social media better for us all. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SprySpace podcast. Today, it is me, Lacey, and Adrian, and Seth here together. We are entering the month of July, and we're going to kind of go to summer school for a little bit for July. We've got some strategy and tips that we haven't kind of talked about this type of content in a few months. So we looked through and we found the most popular content that we've put out over the past few years and are revisiting these topics. And today, we are starting with the topic of trolls. So it's gonna be a fun topic today. Before we get into the meat of it, Seth, tell me about a piece of social media content you've taken in that recently brought you joy.
Okay, so this morning, actually, I was on TikTok, which I'm not proud of, but I was. And I came across this post. For those that don't know, my wife is very pregnant at this point. And she is not one of those women that is enjoying pregnancy. It's been kicking her butt and she's not happy. And I came across a comedian who's actually talking about women who she goes on and says, we should be told what pregnancy is like before we do this and not by movies. Like, we should be Googling this. We should know what we're in for. But she goes through this entire spiel about how pregnancy sucks. And she ends it with, and for those of you that enjoy pregnancy, because I know you're out there, I hope your car flips. I hope you drive into a pond. It's so morbid, but for some reason it struck me as so funny, and probably just because my wife is so miserable during pregnancy. So It brought me such joy. The comedian did. Not people flipping their cars. I don't hope anyone flips their cars, but that just the comedy set really it hit me as so funny. So.
Well, Instagram, I feel like, I don't know if it's just that I'm a woman in birthing age, but like in my, like for you, my Discover page has always been filled with pregnant women. I'm like, I haven't had children in almost a decade. Like, why is this still part of my feed? I don't understand.
It's probably because you ask about Sarah every time we chat. You're like, how's Sarah? How's the baby? How's the pregnancy? And those bots are like, oh, she's interested in pregnancy. Here you go.
Also, to up the creepy factor, Facebook and Instagram know that you are related to your sister and your brother and a whole bunch of people that are also having babies, and they can tell that they're having babies based on their purchase histories that are connected with all their email addresses and the locations. And that's also probably why as well, because I haven't been getting any pregnancy related stuff, thank God.
Even on like your Discover page.
Yeah, I know.
It's full. It's full of them.
No. Mine is full of actually wedding stuff, though, which is weird because I got married 7 years ago. But I don't know. I don't know. So, Lacey, maybe we need to like weird out the algorithm and just go follow some really random.
And just see what happens to our Discover
see
page.
What happens. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's dive right into the meat of what we're talking about today, okay? Yay. So this is fun. This blog post that we have on our website is called the Troll Response Guide. And like all great things, it was born of turmoil and stress and frustration, right? We were dealing with too many trolls at one time, and so we just decided to figure out a way to just solve all our problems. Here is the Troll Response Guide, right? The thing that's been interesting is since we've written this about, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago?
Yeah. I was going to say it's from July 2019. This was written in a quaint time before
Yes.
2020. We did use these skills. We were prepared for 2020 because we were prepared with our troll guide. However, I feel like, when it's like when you work in a kitchen, if you've ever worked in a kitchen as a waiter, waitress, cook, whatever, you working, and then the rush hour happens and it kicks up a notch, and then you don't really care if your shirt is untucked, or there's like a next level of exhaustion where you just do what you can, and make sure that there's no fires. So yeah, I feel like after 2020 we can go back to this and be like, oh yeah.
So one update I decided I wanted us to try to make is like, I feel like we've been generalizing, and we need to look at how we're generalizing. There are more than just trolls, okay? There are segments of trolls. Every troll is unique. It needs to be given, some unique identification. So we at least broke down trolls into 3 different categories. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
But 3 categories we broke them down into. One is robot trolls. So Seth, what's a robot troll?
Well, as a developer, a robot troll is literally that. It's a bot that somebody wrote that literally just scours posts and makes random comments, generally not nice comments, throughout the things. And a lot of the times they don't even make sense, right? You've got your normal comments and then someone's like, you suck. Just period. What? No context, nothing like that. So it's just a piece of code that literally just goes through and comments on your stuff.
Should we call them trollbots? I feel like trollbot is a better term than robot trolls, but
sure, that works for me.
I love it.
Some of the ways that I see trollbots show up in a feed is if there's a specific phrase. I think that might be the way the code is written sometimes, is like if there's a specific phrase used in the post content, then the trollbot will post sometimes like an image. Like I've seen a lot of those throughout the last year where there's like an image that's kind of like a meme illustration or something like that is just automatically commented on. It's the first comment we get on the post. It comes pretty rapidly after the post is published. Specifically, I could think of like mask posts, right? Yep. We worked with quite a few organizations who were doing rapid response for the pandemic. And as soon as you had the word mask or pandemic or COVID in your content, you had like illustrations of a boot on top of a face and an American flag, like it was just, and that's the kind of thing that you see coming from trollbots is, right, there's no context really, there's no opinion stated, it's just like, bam, sometimes an illustration, sometimes a you suck comment. Adrienne, have you seen those kind of trollbots showing up in any other ways in your content?
Yeah, actually, recently Instagram went through an algorithm change, and when they changed the algorithm, I don't know exactly what they do, but they Instagram and Facebook and all social media, they do take steps to prevent robots and trolls, or troll bots, I guess, bots and that sort of stuff. But every time they change the algorithm, they could basically uncover a new vulnerability, I guess, for the developers or the. So anyway, so recently I've seen a lot on Instagram that there's been a lot of spam comments coming through, lots of just weird, nasty comments, and people deal with them in different ways. They'll limit their comments, they will delete all of the spam, or they will, keep on commenting. The problem with the spam, though, and the reason why you should probably try to figure it out, is that it really just puts a damper on the actual real conversation that's going on.
Definitely.
Because everyone knows, like, we all know that they're not real people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is one that I have noticed.
I think it's interesting. I think you bring up a good point, is often if you're reading through your comments and you see someone trying to sell you something, or an advertisement or something like that, chances are it's a bot. Like, there aren't people going through comments, copying and pasting in products for you to buy randomly. So it's another good way to pick out a bot troll, is if it's trying to sell you something in the comments that's not related to the conversation at all, it's a bot.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you wouldn't necessarily often think that a comment, especially on Instagram, we see a lot of bot comments, but it's different than the bot comments on Facebook, right? On Facebook, they're a little bit more negative in nature, whereas on Instagram, they're a bit more salesy in nature. Go follow us, DM to collab. It's like constant like that. And it's so annoying.
I think that's because Facebook's been around a little longer. And so the robots on Facebook have had more time to get bitter. They've been scouring Facebook for a long time. They're like, oh, this sucks.
Okay, so another type of troll that we were talking about is an angry troll. Okay, so I would say that an angry troll is like somebody who really they're angry in their real life, and this is, some people might also call them like a keyboard warrior, right? These are like the people who take their frustration. They're real people, but they spend the majority of their time on social media, just scrolling through their feed and lashing out at the content that's coming at them. How else would you define an angry troll, Adrienne? Is there anything I'm missing there?
Well, somebody that needs therapy in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, we all take out our frustrations in different ways in real life, right? But somebody, I mean, and here's the tragedy of social media is that the more interaction a post gets, it doesn't matter, and Seth's talked about this before, a computer doesn't understand happy, sad, mad, angry. It just knows that a post is getting a lot of attention. So, if you write, if you post something in response and maybe to nag somebody on their post, and you have a conflicting opinion or something, and you post a nasty comment, that gets other people talking in rebuttal, or in defense of the original poster, Facebook loves that. It loves that. So that is why these, people with, whatever emotional, they don't have a good control of their emotions. They go on to Facebook and they just like pour out all the negativity because it brings it back to them. They can get this instant gratification of like, I don't know, maybe feeling like they are alive. Anyway, that's my theory.
I think also, I think it would still fall into the category of angry trolls, but there are also the people that just enjoy the fighting. They're not an angry person in real life, but they just want to see if they can start a fire, get people riled up, and get the comments going, right? I think it would still fall under the angry troll people, but there are those out there that they will scour the internet looking for, can we get something going here? And they just sit back, sip their coffee, and watch the world burn. So.
And we've said Facebook a few times with angry trolls, but I feel like both Instagram and Twitter are good homes for angry trolls too.
Oh my gosh.
And TikTok now too. TikTok
I was wondering,
is blowing up with angry trolls.
Really?
Yes.
You see it a lot on Instagram with accounts that maybe are somewhat controversial in nature. Adrienne, you and I both follow Jeffrey Marsh, who educates on non-binary and gender issues. And, the kind of comments that come through towards those people can be really, really angry and mean. And you go to Twitter and people's responses and people's retweets and their comments can be so vile as well. And, those aren't bot comments. Those are angry trolls. Real people. Yeah. The third type that we talked about are strategic trolls. Okay. So Adrienne, tell me what you mean by strategic trolls.
Well, a strategic troll is maybe a relative of what Seth's talking about, the person that really just has a mission, and it's not really about emotion exactly. They understand people's emotions and they like to get a rise. But when we talk about strategic, maybe they go in and they search for the hashtag LGBTQ during Pride Month, and they're like, they go and they are specifically targeting, people who are talking about that, and trying to get a rise out. There's other movements, many different movements. I mean, on all sides of the political spectrum, where they will pick something and they will just go become a little army for the cause. So yeah, that is a strategic troll. The other thing about strategic trolls is they don't always just do public forums. A lot of times, I've noticed that trolls will gain acceptance into private groups. And under the they will, it's not just like they just are like, oh, today I'm gonna do this and I'm just going to wreak havoc. It is a months-long plan where they join a group, and because with Facebook, the page admins you have to meet certain criteria, you have to take a test or whatever it is, but they reach those criterias, and then they're in the group for a couple months, because oftentimes if you join a group and you start behaving badly, the admin will just kick you right out, right? So you join the groups, you play nice with people until a certain point, and you decide to do whatever it is you're going to be doing. I've that has happened a few times with recently with some of my accounts. People are trying to be selling things all of a sudden, and it just is not great. A marketing group that I'm a part of during Pride Month, and we're marketing professionals. We're talking about marketing for Pride Month. What should the messaging be? It's all about how do we? It's marketing. We're trying to talk about communication, and then someone pops in with basically, being gay is a sin, and just very and so it's first of all, there's, whatever you believe, but first of all, this isn't about marketing. You're not talking about marketing here. We're lurking in wait, and then you're like, aha, my time has come that I'm going to start to bug people, so they were kicked out. But it takes strategy. It takes time to go out and find those groups and join them and sit around and wait for your moment.
I like how you said they're like a cousin to the angry troll, or a relative to the angry troll. Mm-hmm. Robot trolls, trollbots, they're on their own, but the angry and the strategic trolls, they're cousins. Family reunions suck.
Yep.
So very toxic.
So let's talk about how we respond. Okay, so I think number one, what we have to do is be mindful that as soon as we get a comment in that we can tell is from a troll, meaning that it's either negative, it's completely off topic, it's distracting from what you're trying to actually communicate about in the post, just relax. Okay, this happens to everybody. Sometimes, especially if you're newer to social media management, you can feel kind of a personal attack from getting bots, and if it happens sequentially, then you're like, am I doing something wrong? So as soon as it comes, relax, understand that it's part of the process of social media management to have to deal with trolls. The second thing is to identify them. So how would we go about identifying them, Adrienne?
So the great thing about the internet is you can look at people's public profile.
Seth's face right now, knowing that Adrienne's about to talk about stalking.
Oh, I know, because she's genius when it comes to tracking people down on the internet. I would be scared to do anything online with Adrienne out there.
That
she
evil
will
laugh.
Find you.
Well, it's just that I think people, when they're in the moment, they don't remember. And this, I think this kind of opens up a whole other discussion about online privacy, how the tools and platforms are built, what your settings are when you agree to the terms of service. What are you actually agreeing to, right? You can join a service and be like, I'm going to have all my stuff private, right? But then several iterations over, or that company gets sold to a larger company, and then everything gets changed and your settings are changed, and maybe maybe they send out an email and they're like, everything's going to be public now, or there's settings changes and you don't notice because you don't read the fine print. And I've noticed this, people don't really, when they're going through their life, they don't think about all of those things. And so I mean, even me, I'm sure if you look me up, there's things that I've forgotten to like make private or delete or whatever, because it's just human nature, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone's being mean to you, you can look them up. See what's available on public. See if oftentimes if they are have family members, or they tag friends and family in photos, nothing mean or anything, but then they're a real person. They're more likely a real person. There's other people out there that they interact with. They're a real human. If it's an account that just retweets or reposts lots of content from other pages, but doesn't have their own opinion really, or they're very vague about, their location, or they don't have any friends, they don't have very many friends,
or their profile picture
isn't real, or a real person.
Yeah, isn't a person.
Or no people are like commenting on there's no discussion happening on their posts. They could be a troll from even like a foreign country, or they could be, just somebody that's created an account that is just around a dummy account to piss people off, right? So just a little bit of like investigation, you can figure out, okay. And sometimes you see maybe this person, giving them grace. Maybe they're like, okay, they're somebody's grandma. And maybe she's just mean, but we don't really, we're not gonna. Maybe we were trying to ban her from our page, or we're gonna delete her comment because she's not even gonna notice.
Right. Gladys deserves another chance.
Maybe she does. Or maybe if you delete her comment, you're like, you know what? She's probably not gonna notice that this comment has been deleted. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we're making a lot of judgmental assumptions right now, but after a lot of like patterns that I've noticed, this is, just kind of find them.
Yeah, it just helps to understand what you're going to do next. If you have a little bit more context around what that person's normal online activity is like, then you can know better how to react to them.
Right.
I have noticed on Instagram that bot accounts have been getting more and more real looking. Like I got Seth, you were in the car with me when I was like, I just got 2 new followers on my personal account, and I was like, that's interesting, I don't recognize these people. I click on their thing, both of them were very similar. It was like travel _ blogger _ whatever, and then another account that had a similar name, and we go on and I look at their profiles, and their profiles are like Mary 34, loves to travel, and like the same exact bio format. The content was a little bit different, but the bio format was exactly the same. They had like 600 followers already, but they're probably all following each other. All the photos were stock photos, so it's just it's getting a little bit harder to tell what a bot account is.
Yeah.
But
it's super interesting to try to figure out.
Yeah. While we're on Instagram, really fast. One thing I've noticed is that they'll on Instagram, and maybe I don't know if this is quite the same on TikTok, but there will be memes. There's meme accounts out there, and we'll see these like really hilarious memes come out, and like they get reposted to other meme accounts, and I've seen the same meme from separate accounts posted all over the internet. Like it's just kind of like once it's out there, they all take it and then run with it. But like you'll see meme accounts, some of them are real with like real people behind them, and that are actually like are into the niche of the memes that they create. And then there's some meme accounts that just blow up, and then you'll start to see, once they have a certain amount of followers, they'll start to post advertisements. One of them that I follow, that I recently unfollowed, they started posting these like very strange like pornographic video like trailers, kind of like advertisements.
Hey.
It was like, when you get in your inbox, those like nasty emails like come in, whatever. But like all of a sudden it was like went from funny memes to really inappropriate garbage. And I was like, this is gross. And part of me wonders if there's just people out there that create meme accounts and
then
they
sell
figured
them.
out, right, they sell them, and then they sell them to just strange trolly people that think that, I don't know, does it pay off for them? It must pay off for them. I have no idea. Anyway.
I don't know. It's a traffic game, right? If you get enough followers and then you post something and you get X amount of traffic, then you can sell ads on your site for X amount of dollars. And, is it actually providing any value to anyone? Probably not. But money floats around where traffic floats around. So,
Yep.
So once we've identified a troll, if they are a troll, if they're just a confused grandma, if they're if they're just angry about a specific topic, then we can get clear. So we will ask ourselves some of the following questions. Is there any truth to this person's statement, or is it just an opinion? Seth, from your perspective, why is that important? If we have to ask ourselves, is there any truth to the statement that's in this comment, or is it just an opinion?
Well, if there's truth to what they are posting, there's opportunity for dialogue or even opportunity for correction on your part, because it may turn out that you were the angry troll. I mean, not really a troll, but you were posting something out of anger, and this person is actually correcting you, saying, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing that. And just because, I think there's a very important lesson here. Just because you're angry about something someone commented does not make them a troll.
Yes.
And that's why these questions are so important, because I may look at something and be like, oh, unfollow, delete, or block, but in reality, I'm the one that needs an attitude adjustment, and I should probably hear what they have to say. So it's very, very important to see if there is truth behind what they are posting, or if it's just an angry comment aimed at you.
And especially from a business perspective, we make mistakes in business all the time.
Yeah.
And so it may not even be that we posted something out of anger, but maybe that we did something in our business operations incorrectly. Maybe we did somebody wrong, and they're just here to tell you about it. And if we're not willing to listen to that, then that will just continue to get worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why when you post anything for a business, you really have to make sure that they are about their values, and with everything you post. For instance, I have a client they have a high percentage of their employees are veterans. And so, anytime we post about Veterans Day or in support of veterans or, benefits or anything like that, we have to also make sure, okay, are we actually supporting veterans at your business? Because if you aren't, but you're saying you are, you're opening yourself up to people telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Publicly.
I like to think about that Burger King campaign that went on at the beginning of the year. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they did that whole A Woman's Place is in the Kitchen. And it was to support their scholarship program for sending women to college. But they didn't really think about all of the ways that could be taken. And so the people that exploded on social media in the comments were not necessarily trolls. They were people that had legit concerns about the way they had phrased this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. I love that.
So that's an important thing. Is there any truth, or is this just an opinion? The next question that I think is important to ask is, do they ask any questions you can answer, right? There's a very big difference between somebody saying you suck, or here's an illustration of a boot on my face, and is there actually any science behind mask wearing, right? Like, that question is something that is not an assault. It's something that you actually could answer, right? And so just be very mindful of, as you're looking through comments that are coming through that might seem like troll comments, are there any questions that you can answer? Because if there are, that provides a great direction for you to respond, as opposed to feeling like you have to immediately block those people.
Yeah. And here's the value of a good social media manager. This is why we're worth our weight in gold, everybody, is because there is a art and a kind of an empathy you have to have. Sometimes people say things that aren't exactly questions. They're not phrased in a question, but you read it and you have to read in between the lines. You have to read what they're saying and what they're actually needing, It's like when you have kids or you're teaching children and they have a tantrum or they are trying to communicate something to you, and technically they're saying this, they're being difficult, right?
Recalcitrant even.
Yes. But underneath, if you're really looking at, if they give you enough of in their answer or their comment or whatever, sometimes they're asking something completely different, and you can figure that out based on asking them a question. What do you mean by that, right? Or can you tell me some more? Or you can ask them, and so that can really turn things around quickly, rather than dealing them with a harsh, with them harshly. So that's kind of.
Along with that, you can also, even if there isn't a question in there, if you determine that a particular statement is not just like off topic or whatever, you can even throw those questions in on that. Like say someone, the mask thing, someone posts, masks don't work. You have the opportunity to go in and reply to them. Can you show me some studies? Can you point me in the direction? Open a debate, because at the end of the debate, either they're going to provide evidence that is going to back up their statement, or you're going to look like the nice guy that gave them the opportunity to back up their statement and they're still wrong, and then you block them. So, But,
right.
Yeah, you have that opportunity.
So I think that the last question and this question are very close to each other. So the next thing to ask yourself is, could you provide value to others by responding? Okay, so even if you take the troll out of the equation, right, is the question or comment that they're making something that you could respond to that would add value to the rest of your audience? Can other people learn from the answer that you can give? If so, just take the troll out of the equation and provide value in your comments section.
Yeah. There's this amazing count in Portland. I've never eaten there. It's called JoJo PDX. They had a JoJo wagon, a food
JoJo wagon sounds fun.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if everyone knows what JoJo's are. They're just like giant potato wedges, fried potato wedges. They're delicious. Anyway, they had this food wagon. They made JoJo's. They would pile them with bacon and just, they took it to an art form. Anyway, they have other things now. It's delicious. But the person running the account is so sassy and honest and just like tells it how it is. And, they do not tolerate rude customers. And they will put that up, they will say that. They will say, hey, this person did this today. Here's how he handled it. And please don't come back. Like, if you're going to be like this, like it's, but when they share those interactions, and they're showing their audience what they expect of you, right? If you're going to be in a certain way, you can expect us to treat you like this. You can expect us to turn you away. We're not going to serve you. By the way, we sell out every day by 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. So it doesn't really, we don't need you know what I mean? You're showing them by answering comments and showing how you communicate. You're showing your customers and your audience how to treat you and what to expect.
It's interesting. I'll keep this story short, but I follow an early kind of macro influencer on Instagram, and she like a year and a half ago was posting. Whenever she would post something that was somewhat controversial, she would get a lot of negative response, right? Well, she's kind of taken to kind of putting that out in the open over the last year or so, like when she gets those kind of negative responses, etc., and changed some of her overall posting practices and whatnot. And recently, like in the last week, when she posted something somewhat controversial, she's like, in her stories, she's like, I can't believe every comment has been positive. Like, and so you can see that over time, as you kind of start to say, this is what's welcome in this community, it will, and when you're more open and honest about your actual opinions, the people who maybe don't agree will kind of shed off of your community, and you'll find this rhythm with a community that is actually really positive and really, useful and helpful.
Right. Yeah.
Another piece that you might end up needing to do, especially from a business perspective, is you might have to consult with other departments too, right? So if something happens and you're getting a big flood of negative feedback for some reason, you might have to start consulting other departments. We work with a countertop company who sometimes they'll get direct messages or comments that say, never work with this company. I had this bad experience, blah, blah, blah. As the social media manager, you probably don't know the details about how or what went on to cause this experience. So you have to consult with another department before you can actually give a legitimate response to those people. So Adrienne, I know some of your clients have had something similar to this too. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. We went through the experience of having a layoff at one of the companies I work with. And from time to time, this happens to every business, right? You have, whether, it's one person leaves or several, or internally leadership decides to change things up. Maybe it doesn't mean a layoff, but maybe it's just something operationally that everyone and employees maybe don't appreciate, or changes. People don't like changes, right? We don't like them. So, but what happens in that situation is basically the more people you have employed, right, the more variance of opinion and feelings and that sort of thing. And so basically we had a situation where we had current employees and past employees coming and being trolls. And so, but in that situation, it was a delicate situation, and the company wanted to make sure that these people were reached out in person and it was taken care of internally. And so basically what had to happen was, for a few days, I would watch and monitor comments and anything that came through that basically I had to look up whether or not that person was an employee or not, and then I would send it on to the HR department. So that was a little bit of you had to be delicate about that situation.
So the last thing that we ask about before we choose a direction for sure is, what are our brand values, right? We always have to be able to lean back on whatever our brand values are in order to help decide what direction we're going to take. Are your brand values sassy, or are they informative, or are they professional? And so depending on what your brand values are, that's how you should really make a decision about whether or not you're going to respond and in what way you're going to respond. So always being mindful of that. So I'm going to move on to, 3 different ways that you can kind of choose to move after you've gotten a troll comment. Okay. Number 1 is to hide their comment. Seth, what do you think? When are the times that we choose to just hide or delete a comment?
Well, when we were talking about bots, often they will just post things that are not relevant. They have no value. There's no way really to respond to it. So you would definitely just want to hide those. I mean, there's no reason to leave them on. They're not going to add value to the conversation at all. So definitely those ones. Also, I don't see it on here, but there are some times when people will use words that are not conducive. And I would also say in those situations, unless it's very much going to add value to the conversation, if you can really turn it around and provide some information, some data to help combat them, if they're using language that is just not helpful, I would honestly just hide those ones as well. There's no point in leaving them up there. So,
and Adrienne, what's the difference between hiding and deleting a comment?
So hiding, basically, the person who posted the comment can still see it, and their friends, but people not connected to them and who didn't post it can't see it. The thing about hidden comments that I will say, let me back up. Deleting is when you just delete it completely. So if you commented something nasty and then you came back to the post, you would see that it would be gone. So that's the difference between hide and delete. The thing about hiding comments, though, is that, especially on Facebook and Instagram, is that the problem is you post something, right, as a business, and the first comment is a nasty comment, just a snide comment. And if you don't delete it, but you hide it, there's going to be these three little dots, dot, right underneath in the comment section. And so other people that are coming to the comment now see, oh, the page hid those comments. And they're going to, people have actually written in some of my, in one of my, with one of my accounts, oh, they're hiding comments here, and there's no use in like commenting. You know what I mean? So there's kind of like a strategic choice you have to make. If there's a conversation that's 24 comments deep and one in the middle is nasty, hide that one for sure. The problem is when the first comment is nasty. In that case, what I did is I answered that person and said, the first comment was vulgar and we don't tolerate that. And that I just answered truthfully. So anyway, that's just a little tidbit about that.
So we might choose to delete a comment if we know that it's from a trollbot, like that
Yeah.
Trollbot's not going back around to check and make sure that these are being responded to properly or anything. It's a code that's running and it doesn't have its feelings hurt because it doesn't have feelings.
Yet.
So we could delete something that we know is from a trollbot. We might hide something, again, like you said, Seth, if there is some vulgar language to it. Specifically, if we've gone through those questions at the top and there's no, it's just an opinion, there's no questions being asked, and we can't provide value to our audience by answering it, we can hide it if we'd like to. The next thing we can do is, choose to respond with our brand account. So how we choose to respond is going to vary based on our brand values and is going to vary based on the type of troll that we're dealing with. We do have to be careful to, Seth, you talked about earlier, opening up a debate. There are some trolls that are just long-winded trolls, right? And they live for that debate. And so opening up the debate in that way can be interesting. So we just have to be really mindful about how we're choosing to engage them. And most importantly, probably what the purpose of that post was, right? Was the purpose of that post to bring up these kind of questions and engage in the comments? Then that's what we should be doing. Was the purpose of the post to send people to this website where there's more information and they can research? Great. Then we can reiterate that in our comments. Am I missing anything in that, Adrienne, that you can think of how we respond with our brand account?
No, that's great. Protect your energy. I would say it's best not to get into a huge debate with people. And this is when it's really great to have invested in awesome content strategy and having good blog resources, especially if you know you're going to post about something controversial. So during the pandemic, or maybe during an emergency, or if you have a new product launch and you're anticipating a lot of questions, it's really awesome to have a page, like an emergency landing page, where all of the FAQs are answered, and you just say, hey, if you have any questions, go here. If you have any more problems, then reach out with this email, or DM us. But that kind of like, depending on what you're talking about, it really kind of is like, here's the resources, here to your answer. Because you don't want to get into an extended debate, really. Like unless you are a debate squad and that's your business page, like that's what you do. But, whatever your business goals are, you don't really want to be arguing with people on the internet forever. But in times of change, emergency, it's great to have a landing page somewhere else where all the questions are answered, and you send people there. And if they don't want to go there, that's their problem.
And I would refer anybody who's at this point still feeling kind of stuck. We have a podcast a little bit ago with Amy Ert, who has wonderful communication skills. And some of the tips that she gives is using people's name when you respond, right? So commenting back, but using their name when you're starting, and sandwiching, opening with something that's human. Thank you so much for your comment. I can see that you have good questions here. Let's get into the meat of it. Here's a little comment that's informative. And at the end, I hope you're having a great day. Let me know if you have questions. So sandwiching is a really good way to make sure that your point gets across in a way that isn't so argumentative, perhaps. The last option that you can choose, either you can hide or delete their comment, you can respond with your brand account, and you can also choose to just trust in your community. So if you've built an engaged enough community on your social media channels, you don't have to be the one going in and responding to everything. Your community can sometimes come to your defense. I've seen it happen with especially recreational focused communities. So, I work with a board game company, and you might get somebody giving a comment like, when my game was shipped, it was all beat up and and instead of the account actually having to answer, you'll see people coming in and saying, hey, something like this happened similar to me too, but they took care of it right away. You can email them at blank@blank.com. Like they know exactly what to say because they've had great customer service. So trusting in your community is an option that you can have if you've worked hard enough to develop a community that really, trusts you.
Yes. This is also worth it. This is why also social media managers are worth their weight in gold, because that is the golden, I guess, rule of marketing. When you have other people, word of mouth, that are willing to go to bat for you, that you've converted a long time ago, like however they heard about you, but they're now a friend, right? It's like literally having thousands of friends that will jump into your defense. And obviously there's certain things you need to have an official response, but people defending you without you having to ask them will then convert that person that was having a problem, because they're like, oh man, all these people are coming in with this really great information. I feel like I trust them a little bit more. I feel supported. I feel like my answer will get taken care of. And that is so important.
Mm-hmm. I would refer back to a podcast with Teresa Potrats too. We interviewed her, and she's the social media manager for that company, and just talks so much about how it is to be human, really to be a person and treat the people who are in your community like people, and what the benefit is that you get as a return for that is huge. So once you've decided what you're going to do, really the last thing you've got to do is just move the heck on. This is going to happen, and we don't have time to dwell on this. Like Adrienne said, protect your energy. Just move on. Your focus should be on creating good, solid, valuable content. And dealing with this is a side task. It's a side quest.
Right. This is why I would really also advocate for, on your website, on Facebook, on any of your profiles that you have a social media policy. You say, this is our page. This is who manages the page. If you want to say who manages the page, you can introduce yourself. It's like, you're entering a room and you're saying, here we are. This is what is going to be tolerated here. Any vulgar language will be deleted immediately. And so it's kind of like you're giving yourself, if someone misbehaves, you can say, hey, you joined our community and you broke the rules. And so don't, you're kind of giving yourself permission to
set boundaries.
Yeah.
Follow through on them. Yeah.
So that I would really recommend that for everyone. It's so important. Yeah. I
would also like to reiterate, during all of this, never ever react out of anger, or out of feelings in general. Whatever direction you decide to go or whatever step you're in, make sure you stop and logically think through what your end goal is, where you want to end up. Don't just throw in a comment. Even if you went through the steps and you're like, I'm going to choose this direction. that's great, but make sure you have a destination. What is your end goal? Don't just reply out of how you're feeling, even if it was a personal attack. Make sure you always know where you want this thing to end up. Otherwise, you'll end up just throwing gas on the fire, and it'll just blow up in your face. So I just want to reiterate that. Just always think through why you're making the decision you're making to deal with a troll.
Yeah. Yes, that is so good. And because, in the end, and this whatever choice you make, and maybe you do write back something a little bit snarky to meet them. But you know what? The beauty of social media is that hundreds of thousands of people, of information, will also push down your comment to like yesterday's news, and nobody's gonna see it. Yeah. Like everyone will forget about it, right? Like even if there's a gaffe, like something, I can't tell you how many times there's been something will happen, and then a client will be like, "It's the end of the world. Oh my gosh, PR crisis. We have to do all these things," and it's like people are going to forget by tomorrow. Like it's just, So
it's more important to carry out an intentional strategy than to react to whatever's coming up as you're moving through the path.
Right. And if you do end up reacting, just remember tomorrow's a new day. Yep. There's more social media where that came from.
Okay, so hopefully now you feel a little bit more confident dealing with trolls. Adrian, I'll ask you our final question here. So as we continue focusing on social media for good throughout this year, we're really trying to take a hard look at our own personal social media habits and behaviors and get healthier and healthier on those at Spry. So how are you doing? How's your relationship with social media lately?
I'm honestly a little bit burned out on the social part of social media recently. I've been a little bit quiet lately. I'm just tired of it. But so I've been setting some boundaries. I, sleep with my phone in the other room. I don't look at it after certain times. I don't look at it before certain times. I spend the first hour of my day without looking at social media. So with that, I've been using it a lot more for inspiration. I've been doing a lot more craft projects. I've been doing a lot of sewing. And so what I do use social media for is to get inspired to do other work, other projects. So that's what I've been using it for. So I would say that we're doing good. We're doing good.
Well, I love seeing your creative projects come through. The top that you made out of that flannel the other day was so beautiful, and it just makes me so happy when I see you share a creative project that you're working on individually.
Yeah, I have some in just very mind-blowingly colorful fabric that will knock your socks off. I can't wait.
New line of socks coming from Adrian 2022.
Yeah. No, I do. There's and I can't remember, did Keenan say this? It's a phrase that many people have said, but create more than you consume. And I think that's just so important, especially when you're going through like whatever you're going through. It's just so important. So I think that, that's how I'm coping with my burnout feelings of social media.
Nice.
Well, thank you, Seth and Adrian, for spending your time with me today. I love getting to talk to you and just having an excuse to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
If you found this interesting and want to learn more, we've got a great infographic on the blog post regarding this. So you can go to our website and go to the blogs and search troll, and you will find all the information that we talked about here within the blog post. I also want to just kind of put your mind forward. In August, we are going to be having our third Social Media for Good forum. So we will have 3 awesome panelists of people doing social media for good in their communities right now. And so if that is of interest to you, you can go to thinkspry.com and sign up for our email list, and you will get all the information that you need there. Okay? So I hope that you too have a great rest of your day, and all of our listeners, I hope, have a great rest of your day, and keep learning. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
This SprySpace podcast was brought to you by Spry Social Media Marketing at thinkspry.com. Edited by Chad Hinman and executive produced by Lacey Fott.